To see the fully uncut version of this video, head over to patreon.com/JohnJoeLyons.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? Chaos reigns.
Please don't scream.
Nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
What's going on? My name is John Joe Lyons, and today I'm here to present to you my review for The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein. Written and directed by Mark Ronstock, The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein stars... Already slow. Dr. Victor Wolfenstein, a genius and at the same time devilish doctor, has set himself a huge goal. He wants to become immortal. In the year 1930, in a small village, and with the help of scientific experiments and occult rituals, he brews a serum which is supposed to help him achieve this goal. But the serum had an unwanted side effect. He becomes immortal but has to pay a huge price. He becomes infected with necrosis, through which his limbs start to rot, and the only thing left for him to do is replace his body parts. Alright, face, how you doing? Not feeling so fresh? Well, allow me to brighten your day with an absolutely ridiculous German splatterfest filled to the brim with all the necessary ingredients for the perfect review video. Bad acting, gallons of blood, and a goth girl that has the express permission to take a long hot dump directly in my mouth. I was introduced to this film super recently while I was in New York, and I was immediately struck by just how bloody it is. There is so much blood in this film, like more than 100 tears and Adam Chaplin combined. And if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know that I like pretty much anything as long as you pour enough blood on top of it. Wolfenstein also probably has the highest body count of any movie I've covered for the channel, so regardless of quality, I can guarantee you're gonna have a good time today. But before we get into all of that, I just want to remind you, you can see this video completely uncut and early at patreon.com/JohnJoeLyons for as little as $2 a month. I'm not gonna lie to you, earning any sort of livable wage from YouTube videos is basically not an option anymore. The only way that I'm able to live and keep the channel running is the Patreon, and I'm forever in debt to everybody who likes my stupid shit enough to want to get involved. Things will get easier when the channel's big enough to have sponsorship deals, but I'm nowhere near that yet. I'm not Hack the Movies. Oh, and by the way, if you watch Hack the Movies, go to one of their videos and comment that they need to have me on, because I'd just love to meet Crystal. Honestly, I'd in front of their sobbing mothers just to hear her fart through a walkie-talkie. So if you want to see the insanity going on behind the Golden God's beautiful face, go over there now. That's $2 a month at patreon.com/JohnJoeLyons. I've also got a fundraiser to help me upgrade the studio. My current setup is woefully poor, and I'd really love to up the content level by streaming horror games, but need a new few things to do that. The only way that I could do this is with your help, so if you want to see the next evolution of this channel, head over to gofundme.com/thebigstudioupgrade. Any donations, big or small, are super appreciated. Thank you. And finally, this is a review of a movie. YouTube. Any violence that is described or alluded to going on behind Nicolas Cage's face, the censor bar, is completely fake and falls within your guidelines as educational. Yeah, that's right. I'm doing a critical assessment of a horror film, and it's censored. I can't even call you a without it being censored. The last video, even though it was completely censored the entire way through and showed nothing, ended up getting flagged for adult content. So this time I want to make it absolutely positively clear to the random manual reviewer who's completely qualified that this is an educational, critical assessment of a fictional horror film, and any violence is fake even though you won't see it anyway. Okay? Alright? Good. But anyway, I'm in the mood for some hot and wet gothic girls, so let's not waste any more time. Get ready to drown in the most blood and ever featured in a single movie. This is The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein. The movie begins with a warning that reads, "This film contains scenes that may be too intensive for persons under the age of 18. Scenes that may be too intensive. Maybe. Have you seen this film, random person putting the warning at the beginning? I don't think intensive is an intensive enough word for what's about to happen. Cut to Germany 1930 as Dr. Wolfenstein tells his story. He says that after many experiments, he's found the formula for immortality as we see flashes of his not so successful attempts.
Führte Tierversuche und auch Tests an Menschen durch. Doch starben alle Versuchsobjekte nach der Injektion meines Serums.
After finalizing his serum, he tried it on himself, but shortly after, his cells started dying off as he had infected himself with necrosis during the test. He worked to rectify the serum, all while performing transplants on himself and having to repeatedly steal the dead from the cemetery to replace the dying parts of him. Which apparently the townsfolk weren't a big fan of, but f them. What do they know? Oh, I'm sorry. Is your name Dr. Villager? No, it isn't, is it? Dr. Wolfenstein, yeah? Recognize.
Monster und haben Angst vor mir. Ich wurde als Hexer beschimpft und bespuckt. Dafür sollen sie mir alle büßen.
Cut to a mob literally wielding pitchforks as they scream outside the mayor's residence calling for the good doctor to be hanged. The mayor then greets them and gives a speech about how they're gonna f Wolfenstein up.
Wir werden diesem schändlichen Treiben ein Ende bereiten. Und zwar zusammen. Doch heute Nacht wird dieser Teufel für seine Taten bestraft werden. Wir lassen ihn bluten im Namen des Herrn. Tötet ihn!
Back with the doctor, he says he needs to get out of there and find somewhere else to work, a place where they'll leave him in peace, but he's running out of time. He says he needs another self-experiment and it's the only chance left. The townspeople bust in through the door, so the doctor quickly tires off and pumps himself full of the serum one last time. He falls to the floor as the mob storms in and apprehends him, telling him he'll burn in hell. In response, the doctor says they'll pay for this and curses them. The priest says the doctor has been possessed by Satan and tries to help before requesting they cut the rotting tongue out of this devil's mouth and bury him alive. The mob then enact their bloody vengeance.
Und ich sah ein fahles Pferd. Und der auf ihm saß, sein Name war Tod. Und die Hölle folgte ihm.
Cut to the still laughing doctor being dragged along in his box. They pop the in the ground and mark the grave with a cross before getting the fuck out of there. And that's when we get this shot. That coffin didn't hold him very long, did it? Cut to these lovely ladies, Tina and Jenny, sunning it up in a park. Jenny asks Tina who she's texting and she jokes around before admitting it's David. Jenny says she didn't think he was her type, but Tina responds he's cute, and while he was shy at first, she's gonna put him at ease by sucking his cock directly off his body. Jenny then asks about Tim, but Tina says she f***ed him twice and got rid.
Du bist echt ne Bitch. Hallo? Selber? Ah, nimm sofort zurück. Nein. Doch. Nein.
Ooh, nice. Come on, Tina, jump to it. That p ain't gonna eat itself, you know. They're joined by Mike, who asks why they started without him, and the girls play this weird joke like they're gonna get cheekbones deep into each other before just bursting into laughter. Mike sits and tickles Jenny when Tina gets a text from David saying he's got a surprise and rushes off. Cut to Tina meeting David, where he tells her he got the Rave of Summer festival tickets, which the others also seem pleased about. We then cut to a drinking montage. Oh my. Well, I think I know who my favourite character is. It's the one with the jumbo yum-yums. If you take away the music and see this from the perspective of someone else sitting in the park, what you've got is 4 random people getting rat-assed on a day that doesn't even look that warm and randomly playing volleyball. The sun sets and the montage ends as we cut to Wolfenstein's lair. The radio randomly turns on as we pan over various jars, then cut to this guy in a pretty shitty situation. Next to him is the doctor, who sharpens his sword, then takes it to the man's arm, severing it. Cut to the doctor unwrapping his bandage and removing his arm, which completely changes colour between shots. He then attaches the new arm, and I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm not sure that's how that works. He sticks the bandage back on and injects himself in the hand, making noises as he does. The hand comes to life and we cut to Mike waking up late.
Alter, wir sind verdammt spät dran.
He wakes up David, telling him the girls are coming over and bringing his cousin Emily, who apparently David wants to bang. Cut to them leaving as we get some exposition about Mike being a role model to Emily after her parents died. David says she's over it now and old enough to make her own decisions, plus he thinks she has a crush on him. Mike shuts this down before telling David that Tina has a crush on him, presumably in the hopes that this might stop him from his cousin. David doesn't believe him and comes to the same conclusion I just did when the girls turn up. Here we meet Emily, who David immediately starts chatting to, causing Tina to get visibly jealous. They then enter the car and we get what can only be described as a sausage montage. And I'm not just talking about your mum's average weekend indoors. She's a is what I'm saying. I also have something to add here. When someone puts something up their nose to be funny, like a pencil or in this situation a sausage, it summons such a venomous rage from within me that I can't even explain. Cut to nighttime as Mike asks whether or not they should drive all night.
Alter, muss das sein?
He just 100% shit himself then. They decide to keep driving and we get more montage before cutting back to the doctor's lair where we find this girl restrained. The doctor then strips her naked, nice, cuts open her abdomen, okay, and pulls her guts out. Still good, still good. Next he puts the guts in this cage, draws for the machete and shoves it into his lady friend. Holy that was a lot of blood. Cut back to the car as the girls wake up and the boys realise they're lost. Suddenly the engine blows, but they're able to make it to a nearby garage where they meet these two gentlemen. They ask for help and the mechanic takes a look, whinging on about foreign cars being crap and young people knowing all about their vehicles. Tina says she can't get a signal and Jenny asks if she can use their bathroom. Sure you can, love. Right here. The mechanic continues to struggle with the car while Jenny is then led into the last place you'll ever see alive and shown the toilet. She steps in and, grossed out by the condition of the bathroom, tries to clean it when outside we see Roly-Poly sneak into an adjacent cupboard to spy on her, where he knocks one out on the wall. And in record time too. He must really have his technique down. Either that or it's just really easy to watching women. Further research is needed. She leaves and outside the mechanic says they've got a broken oil tube but he won't be able to fix it until tomorrow, which Mike obviously isn't happy about. David says after driving all night they'll still be on time and Mike finally accepts it, asking if there's anywhere nearby to stay.
Habt ihr noch mal Glück gehabt? Ich hab noch 2 Zimmer frei.
Yeah, great. The motel with the secret rooms. I'm sure everything's gonna be fine, guys. Cut to the doctor's lair where we see he has another patient on the table. He connects an IV and we watch the liquid slowly make its way into the girl's system when she has a reaction. This is not the result Dr. Wolfenstein was hoping for, so he loses his temper and ends the patient's life by shoving a blade into her face over and over. Cut to David and Mike in their room. Mike complains about the food and goes to use the shower while David turns on the telly, first getting an ad for Stain Be Gone and then Night of the Living Dead. Because it can't be a dirt cheap independent horror movie without utilising the fact that George Romero f***ed up the rights to Night of the Living Dead so bad it somehow ended up public domain. That's why you see people watching it on TV so often in films of this nature, and why there's so many unofficial sequels, just in case you didn't know. He then flips to another channel featuring what looks like a Friday the 13th fan film where we have a lady with her tit out running away from some dude in a hockey mask. He catches her when we cut to the lair and see her get a blade to the face. I'm assuming this is a short film that the director made and I'd really like to see the full thing as it looks super fun. David then switches again to find a channel advertising hot and wet gothic girls. German TV looks f***ing awesome. And with that, David starts to gather his supplies. Unfortunately, Mike comes in and catches David mid-stroke and that's when Jenny knocks on the door. She says they're going out before asking what's going on in the room and pushing her way inside where she finds David, who still for some reason hasn't let go of his She storms out and Mike shouts at David more when the other two girls come in for a look. What's the big deal? He was just getting rid of the poison. You wouldn't go out with a loaded gun, would ya? Grow up. Cut to the doctors as we get some sort of comedy score and this woman tells her friend to wake up. Just from the music alone, I can tell I'm gonna hate this scene. The doctor enters and the man shouts at him saying this is Miss Royce Reed before catching a knife to the head. He then feeds the woman's dog into the cage and draws for his machete. Well, thank God that was over so quickly. If there's one thing I hate, it's quirky, bumbling comedy. Get the f*** out of here with that shit. Cut to Mike and David arguing about Emily again. They head inside to the motel bar where the girls are trying to get the attention of the bartender. The woman finally joins them and Tina asks if there's anything fun to do in the village. The bartender then recommends the disco down the road and they just leave. Cut to the doctor's where we find this woman waking up on his table. The doctor enters and strips the woman, exposing her absolutely stonking milkos, then goes to the cage where he pulls out a bunch of eggs. Next, he lifts the woman's leg, shoves a pipe in her puss and starts dropping the eggs into her. What is the purpose of this? It's never explained. I thought he was trying to cure himself, but now he's just shoving eggs into a woman's. She kicks the doctor away, making him drop the eggs, and in response, he stabs her in the gut. Cut to our group of teens as they leave the motel. As they pass, the mechanic catches Emily's attention, telling her they're all cursed, that the curse of the doctor was never broken. This harbinger of doom then tells her the story of the doctor, how the villagers found dead bodies every day, gruesome, mutilated and maggoty bodies. How he cut off his victims' body parts and sewed them to himself, then ripped out their intestines and devoured them. All extremely fun stuff. He says the doctor was evil, a man possessed by the devil himself.
Aber hat uns alle verflucht. Mein Großvater wusste, dass sich das Böse niemals aufhalten lässt.
Okay, mate. Good chat. I'm just gonna... Yeah? Alright. Jesus f***ing Christ, Mike! What is wrong with you? Oh, great. I've shit myself now.
Jetzt hier Wurzeln schlagen oder was, Nico?
Ihr werdet schon sehen.
Cut to the doctors as he pulls whatever this is out of a jar and pops it into a beaker with some other goo. He then puts the cage on the floor, opens the door and bangs on it. Cut back to the mechanic as he calls out for his dog Pumpkin. We see something is watching him from the bushes, and when he heads up the stairs, knocks over a barrel, causing him to turn back. He enters another back room and kneels down, finding a massive pile of a random substantial pile of floor cum, or as my dad calls it, mine! It's mine! Stay away from my floor cum. He sticks his hand into the dark like a prick when he's jump scared by his dog. And then we get to see what's been in the cage the entire time. That's right, a cock with teeth. Cut to the chunker coming outside and looking for the mechanic. In the back room, he looks for the mechanic before getting jumped and mouth. Cut to the doctor milking this dead body. We see him extracting stuff from the cum eggs and mixing it with the man cum, and well, it's just a lot of cum, you guys. He moves into another room and we see this woman dead with more cum dripping out of her mouth. He shoots another fat load into her, pulls out the tube and injects the IV with the egg solution. Suddenly the woman comes back to life and looks down to see she's given birth to another monster. What the f*** does any of this have to do with his serum or curing his necrosis? Someone tell me. Cut to our heroes getting wrecked at the disco. They dance for a bit when David goes to get a beer. Him and Emily make eyes at each other and David steps away, allowing this Jacob Lewis looking to stare her down. He doesn't actually look anything like Jake apart from the fact that they're both bald. Plus, I'm sure this guy has a working penis, so the comparison doesn't really make sense, but it. I'm gonna call him Jake anyway. Back at the table, the boys chill for a minute before Mike finally changes his tune and encourages David to bang his cousin Emily. They fist bump and David goes in to seal the deal. Jenny points out the kiss and Tina says it's a pity as she would have loved to suck him. I like Tina. I like where her head's at. She's got a good attitude. Cut to Mike taking a leak, which we're forced to watch from start to finish. Why? What the f was the point of that, director? You could have just cut to him at the sink washing his hands and us as an intelligent audience would have put the pieces together. But no, instead you've got to make us indulge in your piss fetish. No wonder this movie's 2 hours long. He washes his hands and drops his head, revealing Chunky behind him. And the scene ends. Essential. Cut to the doctors where we find a dude in a chair and a woman strung up. She then immediately catches the shetty to the head and we see some others get in the business as well. The bloke in the chair then gets it and we cut back to the disco. At the table, everyone's chilling when Mike comes back looking a little under the weather and says he's tired and going home. Jenny seems to pick up on the weird vibe, saying he's usually the last to go home, and we see a flash of Jake watching Mike leave. Tina brushes it off and they continue doing shots when we cut once again to the doctor's lair. I never thought this would be possible, but I think I'm getting bored of the death scenes. Here we find another woman relaxing on the table. She starts screaming and the doctor Jeffrey Dahmers her, so she shuts right the f up. Hold on, did you see that too? She blinked! She blinked and it's still in the movie. The doctor then smashes her finger to and decapitates her. I mean, she blinks like mad here when all the fake blood goes into her eyes, so let's just say she was still alive and give the movie a break, eh? The doctor removes her now rubber head and we cut to David being woken up by a car horn. He looks out the window and we get one of my favourite moments of the film. He looks outside and everyone's at the car, then Emily enters and he asks her to give him a couple minutes. Then when he looks out the window again, Emily is in the exact same position. So who was the Emily that came to David's room? It clearly wasn't the one by the car. What the f is going on? David finally heads outside, kisses Emily, and the girls get in the car. David then checks with Mike everything's cool, and he says it is, even though he's clearly possessed by the dick with teeth monster. They get in and start the engine as we cut to the doctor dumping another hot girl into his shitting chair. The doctor injects her, which causes her to start foaming at both her mouths before coughing up a shitload of blood. He injects the IV again and she gets her period. Oh, and by the way, my new rap name is Menstruation, because I got an especially heavy flow. The doctor then picks up a knife and ends the experiment by stabbing her a shitload of times in the face. Cut back to the car where our heroes find themselves lost again. Mike suddenly stops at a familiar looking tower and drags Jenny away as the rest of the group panic. Mike and David then start fighting with Mike knocking his friend out. Cut to Tina and Emily waking David up. They tell him Mike dragged Jenny into the tower, so he pops the trunk and says he's gonna go get her. Tina begs him not to leave them, saying they'll go get help, but David argues they don't have enough time. Emily says they're gonna go in with him, but David says it's too dangerous. Bear in mind here, they don't actually know anything about the immortal murder doctor yet. They're worried about Mike. There's 3 of you. Kick his head in. Tina says she isn't going in there, but Emily suddenly gets all final go about the whole thing, saying they're all in the same boat and they're in this together whether David wants it or not. David then tells them Mike always brings a gun when they go camping, loads it up, and we cut to this girl running through the tower. She runs into a room full of victims / patients when we cut to the doctor in hot pursuit. The woman tries honestly not that hard to climb through this hole in the wall when the doctor comes in and starts tagging people left and right. Well, I hate to say it, but my underwear is now an absolute mess of shit and cum. The smell in here is atrocious. You know when you can taste it? Oh, it's burning my eyes, man. I remember an ex-girlfriend told me once that I only like horror because I like tits covered in blood. She didn't know what she was talking about. The girl tries to escape, but as you can probably assume already, doesn't get very far. Cut to David, Tina, and Emily entering the tower. They creep through a few rooms before getting to a stairwell where they hear a woman crying. David says it might be Jenny, so they keep going when we see a black car pull up outside and someone get out. Cut inside where we find Jenny waking up on the doctor's table. She calls out to Mike, who stares dead-eyed at her from the restraints. Then we cut to David and the girls finding this random woman. Emily tries to comfort her as we cut back to Jenny, where the doctor enters and places the cage down on the ground. Back with the main group, David says they need to move on, but Emily says they're going soon and hugs this random woman when Jake suddenly enters the room. Emily recognizes him and he says he's the girl's father, and she ran out on him after he said that she couldn't go to the festival. They hear Jenny scream and David fucks off after the noise as we cut to Mike coughing. Cut to David creeping around looking like a Leon Kennedy. We then watch as Mike coughs up the monster and the doctor puts it back in its cage. He tells Jenny he's sorry and she watches as the doctor cuts his head off. Cut to David seeing the doctor dump a bag of trash. All I gotta say is if we were in a similar situation and I saw the doctor, I would get right the out of there. Sorry, Jenny. Nice knowing you, mate. See you later. He creeps down to have a look, opening the bag and half chucking up from what he finds inside. Cut to the surgery room as David finds Jenny. He tells her he's got to get her out of there as outside the others creep down the stairs. Emily then opens the trash bag, finding Mike's head inside. They're then joined by David and Jenny, and the group just sort of stand there for a bit. Go! Come on, get out of there before the doctor comes back and something terrible happens! No! Not Tina! Not the Jumbo Yum Yums! F this bullshit piece of shit movie. David then catches the Shetty to the chest before Emily gets one in the leg and Jenny meets her end. The doctor then clocks Jake and his daughter, who make a run for it. Cut to Jenny for some dumb reason going back down the stairs to David. The music gets all epic and emotional as he hands her the gun and does some amazing death acting. Stop crying and get the out of there, Emily. Everybody's dead. Go! Cut to Emily making it outside, jumping in the car and seeing the keys are missing. She goes to get in Jake's car but unfortunately finds it's locked. That's when she remembers seeing the keys in the pile of Mike. She opens the trunk, wraps a single bandage around her super deep leg wound and makes her way back inside. At this point, Emily, I hope you die. You are wearing black lipstick, which means, of course, you qualify to shit into my mouth, but the fact that you're not just hobbling away to freedom right now and instead going back inside means you're a dumb cunt and deserve to be cut into a million pieces. Okay? I just want to make that clear. Cut to Emily inside the tower looking around and then to Jake and his daughter. She stumbles and he tries to get her moving again, but unfortunately it's too late as the doctor comes a-calling and ends the man's life. Goodbye, Jake, you Cut to Emily heading back to the bag of Mike. She grabs the keys and we cut to Jake's daughter as she sits still screaming, looking up at the doctor who plunges his weapon into her skull. Emily, who for some reason isn't just sprinting for the exit, knocks over a bucket, alerting the doctor to her presence. He then jumps out at her and she's able to pop him a couple of times before hiding. The doctor passes her and she goes to run but knocks something over again, baiting herself up. Jesus Christ, Emily, you clumsy bitch. How about a bit of spatial awareness, eh? The doctor comes back in, but Emily is able to get the drop on him and blow his brains out. Cut to Emily approaching the doctor's body when he, of course, springs to life and attacks her. With an edit that, for better or worse, I actually quite like. Cut to the doctor putting Emily on his table. She wakes up and pulls a knife out of her arsehole, which she shoves into the doctor's face. Then she throws acid on him, maybe, which causes him to scream and stumble back into these extremely realistic looking electric wires, also knocking over the monster cage. He then falls to his knees and Emily takes this opportunity to deal the final killing blow. The sparks then start a fire which causes an epic explosion. Cut to Emily waking up in a right state. Her tits look lovely though, so at least she's got that going for her. She stumbles out of the tower, falls to her knees and screams to the heavens. We then cut to Emily speeding away, finally free of this nightmare. But wait, there's more. We get a mid-credit scene showing the Doctor is of course still alive, and then an end-credit scene showing him about to continue on his research with the two mechanics. The end! Well, that movie had every single element it needed to make me love it, so why didn't I? The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein is a film that I should absolutely adore, but even with the gallons of blood spilled, I honestly have to say I'm conflicted. The story is pretty simple, with an immortal murder doctor kidnapping people to continue with his research. Unfortunately, our teen heroes cross paths with a maniac and end up fighting for their lives with varying results. That's all well and good, but we run into problems when we start asking questions about just what the the Doctor is up to. At the start, we're told he's trying to create a serum to make himself immortal, which he succeeds at, but the only problem is he infects himself with necrosis, causing his body parts to rot. To resolve this, he's replacing his limbs with the limbs of his victims, but the issue is mentioned, we see him replace one limb and then it's never mentioned again. And how the f is he going to replace his head? Or his torso? So then I guess we're to assume that he's trying to perfect the serum, but I have a few questions. What in the holy mother of f is the dick monster? Where did it come from? Feeding the eggs into vaginas? Why does the extent of the Doctor's research seem to be him injecting people then just stabbing them to death straight away? There's no evolution or arc to the Doctor's work, and that wouldn't be an issue if we didn't see him doing it so bloody much. Which leads to our next problem, the story structure. The movie from the start follows a very rigid structure wherein we alternate scenes between the Doctor and the teens. The teen stuff is your typical teen comedy bullshit, and the Doctor stuff is just him killing people over and over and over again without any clear direction or goal. And yeah, the Doctor just killing people wouldn't normally be a problem, but it's the fact that they hint toward him seemingly working on something that's never made clear to the audience that really me off. Then, since the film follows such a rigid pattern, it makes the whole thing get boring pretty quickly. The teens are unfunny and annoying, the Doctor is one note, the teens don't even meet him until the last 15 minutes, and the movie is 2 hours long. I can't believe we live in a world where I got bored watching people get stabbed, but here we are. Thanks a lot. Speaking of stabbings, the gore in this movie is a lot of fun to begin with, and this is probably the bloodiest movie I've ever covered. Coma Brutal Duel doesn't count because the blood doesn't even look like blood. Every time someone gets stabbed in this film, and it happens a lot, it seems like they've got a hose pipe running down the side of the blade, pumping out a massive jet of fake blood, and I kinda love it. Given the problems I already mentioned, this does unfortunately get old later in the film, but on their own, the kills are impressively bloody. That being said, the rest of the practical effects aren't super exciting, with simple prosthetics being laid over naked bodies. We do get the arm replacement and a rubber head, but they only serve to take you out of the film as they look so bad. The monster is fine for what it is, but really it's the crazy amount of blood sloshing about that saved the kills for me. Onto the performances, and it's exactly what you'd expect from a film of this nature. Everybody involved are amateurish, but not offensively bad. David is pretty charming, and Emily really gives it her all during the climax. The Doctor isn't anything much past the opening either, just a grunting stabby man, and that's fine I guess. There's not really much to say about it honestly. I think the filmmakers are generally successful in creating a slasher villain I'd like to see more of, and even with all the shit I'm giving the movie, I genuinely hope I do. Same with presentation, there's not anything special going on. I did like a couple of the editing choices, and the sound and the shots are perfectly fine. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. All in all, The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein is a pretty fun ride for the most part. It does become a bit of a slog the longer you go through it, and the lack of variation takes elements that would normally be exciting and makes them kind of a chore. With a few trims here and there, the film could have easily been a lot tighter and more enjoyable, but I'd still have to recommend it for the amount of kills alone. While it may get boring as a straight watch, it's perfect for sticking on in the background where you sit and have a good few drinks with someone special. So that was my review of The Curse of Dr. Wolfenstein. What do you lot think? I feel super weird saying a film with this many deaths and that much blood started to bore me, but it kinda did. Is this how normal people feel when they see like a Friday the 13th or something? I genuinely don't know what to say and I'm kind of worried. Am I suffering from violence overstimulation? Is there such a thing? How could I not enjoy someone having a machete shoved into their face over and over and over with blood gushing in all directions? Speaking of which, if you want to see an entire room of people get decimated completely uncut and early, head over to patreon.com/JohnJoeLyons. There you can find the uncut version of this review, plus others with more stuff being added all the time. We got the uncut reviews, Patreon exclusive reviews, slasher comic breakdowns, and the Discord. I also put out a really fun Patreon exclusive Q&A the other day featuring questions such as, what made you decide to go on this journey? And if you had to taste the of one slasher villain, who would it be and why? Because of course. But anyway, all that can be yours for as little as $2 a month. You can pledge more, I really appreciate it, but don't. Go to gofundme.com/thebigstudio upgrade and help out there. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm doing a fundraiser to upgrade all of my equipment to make the videos better and put out more content, including horror game streaming. So go over there and donate whatever you can to help take the channel to the next level. I really appreciate all the help and support. Thank you. So that's it for another week. Like the video, leave a comment, and click subscribe if you haven't already. My name's John Joe Lyons, and let's just have a moment of silence for Tina and her wonderful cushions.